If you're seeing this video right now, I'm gonna go ahead and assume that you are in an environment currently or with people that are not serving you, and you know that they're not serving you. You know that you need to cut some people off, cut some environments off, but either you're too scared or you're in your comfort zone and you are afraid of what other people are going to think, feel, or say about you. I'm also gonna go out on a limb and assume that you are a person who has a big dream, a goal, a vision for their life. You have felt different. You've always felt different. You know that you are not meant to operate the same way that everybody else operates. Maybe you've been a lone wolf. Maybe it's hard for you to make friends, or maybe it's hard for you to fit in certain environments. But that doesn't mean that you find an environment and get comfortable in it and play small. You've been playing small your whole entire life. So like, why do you continuously surround yourself with people who think small, people who act small, who don't see their potential and are not willing to grow? Energy is contagious. Beliefs are contagious. You spend enough time in an environment and you slowly start to adapt to that. You slowly start to become like those people and like those places. There's a quote by Jim Rohn that says, "You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." And I want you to really, like right now, do a deep evaluation of your life. Look at where you want to go. What's your dream? What's your vision? Where do you see your life in the next 5 to 10 years? And think big. Don't put yourself in a box. Really think about what you're passionate about. Really think about, in the grand scale of life, in the grand scheme of things, what do you want? And then I want you to make that list of the 5 people that you're around and the environments that you continuously put yourself in. Does it align with that vision? And I want to give you guys an example because I had to learn this lesson the hard way. So I used to be in a homeless shelter, right? And even while I was in this homeless shelter, I was working on healing. I was working on becoming the best version of myself, because I went into this homeless shelter with a completely different mindset than most people would have in my situation. And that's not to put myself on a pedestal or say that I'm better than anybody else. It's literally, I had been studying law of attraction and manifestation since I was 15 years old. So when this situation happened and my relative had kicked me out, I already knew and was asking myself, what can I learn from this situation? What within me created and generated a response? Like, what within me attracted me to that environment in the first place? How can I grow from this? How can I learn to forgive this person? I was already on that type of time and I was 17 years old. And so when I got there, I was deeply focused on rewiring these patterns within myself. I was focused on building my business. I didn't want to work a 9 to 5. I had just quit being a waitress, and I decided that I wanted to pursue content creation at first, and then eventually that scaled into my business, Planet Divinity LLC. I digress, but that's just the type of time I was on when I was down there. And I had certain people that would come into my life and want to be friends with me in the shelter. And I was totally against it. I was like, no, I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to grow myself, heal myself, and get out of this environment. I'm here to get myself where I need to be. I'm not really focused on friends at this point. And the longer that I was down there, the more people started introducing me to the idea of making friends down there. They were like, oh, well, you don't have to be so judgmental, or like, oh, you don't have to do everything by yourself. You can make friends, you can build community with the people down here because they're in the same situation as you and they know what you're going through. So I was like, okay. Okay. So I eventually ended up making friends down there. And then slowly but surely, I started to realize that the people that I was surrounding myself with in that environment kept putting me in a state of lack and limitation, kept reinforcing the idea that I was homeless, reinforcing the idea that I'm stuck and there's nothing I can do. A lot of these people came from a lot of hard backgrounds similar to I have, but they didn't have the tools or the knowledge and the resources to get themselves out of it. And despite me trying to educate the people that I was surrounding myself with and trying to really lift them up and encourage them and be someone that they could, be inspired by, and just, I like to lift the people up that I'm around. It just ended up with me being dragged down, ended up with me going back to a version of myself that I didn't want to become. So I went against my own word, I went against my own intuition, and decided to be friends with people who I knew I couldn't be friends with. And it's not egotistical, it's literally me protecting my peace, me protecting my vision. Deep down, I knew, and especially with me being in different shelters in CPS and having gone throughout a whole bunch of mental hospitals, like done the whole thing, I know. And especially if you know, if you've ever been in a mental hospital, if you've ever been in a shelter or any sort of group home or placement, you know that the people that you meet, y'all kind of trauma bond because y'all are going through the same shit at the time, and we're always like, oh yeah girl, like as soon as I get out of here I'm gonna hit you up and we're gonna be besties. Like, y'all know how it goes. And then once you get out of that environment, if you start healing and growing, then you kind of separate ways with that person, or it just seems like, you and that person never end up talking, y'all never become best friends. And that is for a reason, because when you are growing and you're healing and you're elevating, you cannot just be giving your time and your energy to anybody. You have to have standards, you have to set boundaries, and people are not going to understand that. Do y'all want to know how many times I've got called selfish or judgmental or egotistical because I said that I wasn't going to make friends in the placement that I was at, or I wasn't going to associate myself with certain people? It's not that I looked down on those people, it's not that I thought that I was better than them, but it's really just because the people you surround yourself with, the closest people that you surround yourself with, makes up your life. You spend enough time around lack and limitation and you become the lack and limitation. You spend enough time around drama and chaos and you start to feed into the drama and chaos. You become that because it's energy. When you are around energy for long enough, you have no other choice but to absorb and become that energy. And also, just because you've known someone forever, maybe you guys have been best friends since childhood, or however long you've known this person or been in this environment, that doesn't mean that you owe them some sort of loyalty. It doesn't mean that you have to stay in their life forever. You are your own individual. You do not owe anybody anything. You don't even owe anyone an explanation for the reason why you're moving on. It's literally, in society, we are programmed to think that we need to cater to other people and we need to people please and have people accept us and fit into this mold and this stereotype of what other people want us to be. But really, this is your life. Like, if you want to cut someone off tomorrow, cut them off. If you want to leave an environment, leave an environment. If you want to distance yourself, distance yourself. Nobody needs to know why you're doing it but you. And you don't owe anyone anything. One of the bravest things that you can do is learn how to be comfortable and okay in your own energy until your aligned tribe finds you. Because this is something that I've struggled with for the longest time. I was abandoned by my parents at 15 years old. And I've felt like all throughout my life I've had to go through it alone. And I would see other people my age and they would have all these friend groups and they would be laughing and having a good time. And I would think to myself, damn, like I want that. Like, why do I have to worry about all of these adult things? Like, I'm 17 years old. I don't want to have to worry about how I'm going to pay bills or how I'm going to put food in my mouth. I don't want to worry about being an entrepreneur. And like, my path was so clearly different from other people of my age. But then I had to realize, well, that just means that I also am different. Like, I have a path that is strictly lined up for me. And I'm not supposed to be just surrounding myself with anybody. I'm not supposed to be just in anyone's energy. Like, my path is different and your path is different. So one of the reasons why you may be feeling so alone is because maybe in this path, or at least right now at this point in time, you are supposed to be independent. You are supposed to be getting comfortable with your own energy instead of constantly giving your power away. That's what I was doing. I would have been friends with like literally anybody. Like, I would have just settled for anything. because I was so lonely, I was so depressed, I was constantly craving connection. And so I put myself with people and in situations that I knew deep down didn't serve me, but instead I did it anyways because of that feeling, because of the loneliness, because I was scared that if I didn't settle, then I was never going to make any connections and I was never going to have any friends. And one of the reasons why it's so important to stay alone until you find people that truly resonate with you, people that you can actually grow with, is because everything starts from the inside out. So while you're independent and while you're sitting with yourself and learning how to love yourself and rewiring all of these traumatic experiences, learning how to reparent yourself, just basically going on the healing journey alone and being comfortable in your own energy, that makes you less codependent on needing someone else to be there. You're not relying on other people to save you. You're not relying on other people. Like, you're good either way. And that's honestly a superpower. When you're able to comfortably sit in your own energy and love yourself and work on yourself until you align with people that can match your energy, you're unstoppable. Like, that is how you make lifelong connections. Because as within, so without. So when you become your best friend, you attract a best friend. But what happens is we're so uncomfortable with sitting with ourselves for a long period of time. And yes, I'm talking months. Yes, I'm talking years. It just doesn't make sense to me that we can be friends with someone who doesn't serve us for years and years on end, but when it comes to us sitting alone with ourselves, the person that we grow, like, we're born into this world by ourselves and we die by ourselves, but yet we distract ourselves from spending any time alone, from sitting with our thoughts. Why is it that we allow other people in our energy that don't serve us, but when it comes to us, we neglect ourselves, we abandon ourselves? And so when we do that, when we don't even know who we are, we end up attracting people who replicate certain wounds within us. That's why it seems like a lot of these connections are just lessons. It ends up badly. Not because you're supposed to be alone forever, but because at this period in this chapter in your life right now, you're supposed to do it alone, and that's okay. Being alone doesn't have to mean that you're lonely. And as for environments, you know whether or not a place that you keep coming back to is toxic, just like how we know our household is toxic, but yet we keep coming back to it, or yet it's something that we continuously rely on because it's comfortable. You know when an environment is not serving you. And like, for example, I was staying in an apartment complex that was literally down the street from the homeless shelter that I used to live at. And while I've made wonderful connections at the shelter and I've fostered beautiful relationships with people in there, it was also an environment that I've outgrown. And the place that I was in was also an environment that I've outgrown. Like, I had too many memories in there. I had let too many people in my energy. Like, it was just not good. And then the environment itself, like literally the people and where I was at, was just not a good environment overall. So what ended up happening was, because I've outgrown that environment and because I started working on myself and raising my vibration and really wanting to get out of this rut, like when I was in that environment, I felt stuck. I felt so creatively uninspired, and I just kept going back to what was familiar, going back to habits that didn't serve me. So like, I would wake up really late and I would just scroll on my phone. I would watch TV all day. I was mindlessly distracted, constantly worrying about other people. And so I was doing all of these things in that environment because of the environment. And I just sat down and I started praying, and I was asking, how do I get unstuck? Like, how do I get myself out of the energy that I'm operating out of? Like, I don't want to stay here. I kept thinking to myself, this is not who I am. This is not who I want to be. It's not aligned with where I'm going, and I need something different. And so, yeah, while I was in this environment, I was just at the worst that I've ever been. And what ended up happening was my apartment complex actually got like some of the units were being condemned, and I had ended up getting a certificate of non-compliance on my door, which basically meant that my apartment complex wasn't up to code. And so that meant that, first of all, I got to escrow my money, which meant that I didn't have to pay any rent to the apartment complex. So I just kept all the money that I saved for my rent, so I didn't have to pay anything. And secondly, it meant that I got to break my lease early and I got to move. And it just so happened that I got another opportunity that would help me with my rent. And so I ended up moving from that apartment complex to a much nicer area with that felt like more aligned. And basically I got out of that apartment complex with no penalties, no nothing, broke my lease, everything, and I just moved out. And so now that I'm in this environment, I feel so much more aligned. I've been coming on here, making content more consistently. I actually just started a rough draft for a book that I'll be publishing by the end of the year. Stay tuned for that. And I'm actually getting invited to go out more places, and I actually just recently went to an event where there was so many creative people. I was mind blown. Like, I went to an environment where there were business owners, there were people who were sitting in rooms of high positions, there were people who were doing the things that I wanted to do or similar, people who had very similar mindsets as me. And when I went to that event, and the next day, that was the very first day that I actually sat down and started writing, because I was procrastinating it for so long. I was like, oh, well, I'll get to it later. Like, I just didn't feel creatively inspired to start what I've always wanted to do. But as soon as I put myself in an environment that fostered that type of energy, I sat down immediately. I was so inspired and just amazed by the amount of talent that was present at this event. And it honestly also inspired this video because it was a huge energy shift for me. It was just one event. And now I'm gonna go back to that place. It's called Toll House if you live in the Midwest. It's in Ohio. And that place just like, whoa. I mean, hearing the backstory of how that place was even founded, being there, seeing all sorts of people who are creative and talented, it just sparked something in me. And I said, you know what, I'm going to drive that hour, because I live in Michigan. So I was like, I'm gonna go drive an hour to Ohio, and I'm going to sit there in that little area, and I'm going to just be there and surround myself with those people. I'm going to talk to people and be in that environment, because the energy that I felt was so positive and so uplifting. It's something that I did not feel in my other environment. I felt stuck. Like I said, I felt creatively unfulfilled. I kept going back to things that were not serving me, going back to people that were not serving me. And now that I'm here in my own place that nobody has been in, nobody from my past has been, like, I cut off literally everybody from my past, and I went into this apartment alone. I decorated it alone, and I've been doing things alone. I'm going on a trip alone. And also that too, oh my God, like when I got into this place, I also decided, why am I not living my life? It was like a huge weight had been lifted off of me. I no longer felt stuck. I no longer felt unfulfilled. I looked at my vision boards and I said, oh, this is where I'm going. Why haven't I been doing that? Like, I just needed to get out of that environment for the fog that was in my mind to clear out. And that's how I ended up booking my first solo trip. I've been saying I wanted to do it for so long. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. Like, I was waiting for the perfect and ideal situation for me to take that action. But then I was having a conversation with my mentor, and I was like, why am I not doing that? Like, why am I not living my life? Like, why am I not taking risks? Why am I not being bold and adventurous, especially in my 20s? I will be 20 in May. Why am I not living my life? Like, You guys have to understand, when you've been in survival mode for so long, it honestly feels like literally up until this point, I've been in survival mode, just having my head down and worrying about how I'm going to get through the next day. But now I feel like I'm finally getting to a point where I can live, I can breathe, I can go throughout my day, I can figure out my life and figure out who I am. And that's what you need to start doing. This next chapter of your life isn't something that needs to be sad or lonely in any type of way. Like, this can be fun. Shift instead and start thinking, oh my gosh, these people have left my life, so now I get to figure out who I am. I don't have anybody in my energy field clouding my judgment. I now have the free time to do anything I want. I get to spend time with myself. Instead of viewing it as a chore, view it as an opportunity. Because as soon as I left that environment, so many things just started opening up for me. So many decisions that I was finally able to make. And this is possible for you as well. The only thing that could be hindering you right now is your environment. Like, you have the tools, you have the knowledge. You know you do. It's just the people that you're choosing to surround yourself with, the environments that you're continuing to put yourself in. If you want to be a millionaire, if you want to be successful, if you want to leave a legacy, why are you spending time with people who can't even see that for themselves? So I'm going to give you some homework, because you know what's not serving you, and I want you to start creating an environment that's actually going to support your dreams. So number one, be who you want to attract. So if you want this high vibrational friend who's on the same level as you and you're attracting your soul tribe, then you need to be your soul tribe. So this means, first, cut off anything that's no longer serving you and you know exactly what it is, because you have that feeling that you keep ignoring. Finally decide to cut ties with that, and then start writing out what you want to experience in another person. What are some standards that you want to have? What are some boundaries that you want to set within your relationships? And what do those platonic or romantic relationships look like? And then go be that for yourself. Literally emit that energy by embodying the person that you want to be in your life. Second, virtual environments. Those count too. Literally scroll on your Instagram feed or scroll on your timeline and your social media and look at the things that you're consuming. Are you consuming things that are low vibrational? Are you consuming things that are not going to get you to where you need to be? And if so, you need to cut that out and actually start creating an environment that is going to foster your growth. And if you need some help, go look at the people that I follow on my TikTok. Go look at the people that I follow on my Instagram and my YouTube, because all of them are people who are growing, they're healing, they're creating change in their life, and they're just committed to evolving. They're committed to awakening people. Like, they're on the spiritual path. Those are the people that I surround myself with. So look at the people that you want and then create that for yourself online. We have the beautiful gift of the internet. So you don't even have to, like, if you're at a point right now where you're alone in your journey or you're really just being in solitude, books, podcasts, consumption on social media, go consume people who are actually going to be worthwhile consuming, because we get so caught up in consuming, but it's all drama and chaos and things that are actually not going to elevate us. So instead, start fostering that virtual environment that's going to support your dreams. Protect your energy because it's sacred. Don't just allow yourself to be in any environments or around any other person. Like, your energy is so valuable. You carry a light within you that not a lot of people deserve. Instead of asking yourself, oh, like, does this person like me? Or, oh, I don't know if I'll fit in with them. Do they fit in with you? Do you like that person? Put yourself on that pedestal and start viewing yourself as important and valuable and worthy. And you'll start attracting people who view you in the same way. Stop begging to sit at tables that don't even want you there in the first place. Why are you begging to be in rooms where it's not even serving you? Why are you begging to sit? Why are you begging for breadcrumbs? Literally, why are you begging for breadcrumbs? You're literally asking to sit in a room where people are not serving you, they don't see your worth, they're not willing to grow, they're stuck in drama, chaos, and survival, lack and limitation, but yet you're desperately craving to be around that. What within you? What does that say about you? What within you is attracting you to those environments in the first place? And why are you desperately clinging on to that? That shows something about what you view about your worth. And that means you need to level the fuck up. It means you need to stand up. And if other people are not willing to grow and evolve and heal with you, they will fall off. So if your circle doesn't involve love, expansion, and growth, it is time to cut it out, period.